Hello, my friends. The journey of life often places us in the midst of those whose actions seem inexplicable and harmful. But we must not be quick to label them without wisdom. There are certain signs, subtle yet unmistakable, that reveal the true nature of individuals whose hearts are consumed by malevolence. First, observe the absence of empathy. A person who lacks the ability to feel for the suffering of others is, in essence, disconnected from the shared humanity that binds us all. Such individuals see the world as a playground for their desires, unaware, or perhaps indifferent, to the pain their actions inflict. When we encounter such a person, we are not merely facing a misguided soul. We are facing one who has allowed their heart to harden, severing them from the common thread of compassion. Lack of empathy. When we examine the nature of evil, the absence of empathy stands as one of its most telling traits. Empathy, the ability to understand and share in the feelings of others, is the very foundation of human connection. It binds us, encourages kindness, and promotes harmony. But in those whose hearts are consumed by evil, this crucial capacity is absent. Evil people do not feel the sorrow of others. They do not recognize or care for the pain they cause. Their actions, even if they inflict suffering, do not stir within them any desire to right the wrong or even understand the harm done. It is as though they are blind to the humanity of those around them. In their minds, others exist not as fellow beings with their own dreams, desires, and struggles, but as mere objects to be used or discarded at will. Without empathy, there is no moral compass. It is the lack of empathy that allows them to harm, to deceive, to act with impunity. For they cannot grasp the emotional toll their actions take on others. To them, suffering is abstract, distant, something that is not worth their concern. When they see a person in pain, it is not a call for help that resonates within them, but rather an opportunity to exploit weakness. This absence also reveals itself in their relationships. These individuals see others not as equals or companions, but as tools, instruments to fulfill their desires. There is no mutual respect, no genuine connection, only the pursuit of their own interests at the expense of others. Empathy is replaced by a cold, calculating desire for personal gain. The evil that stems from this lack of empathy is not always loud or visible. Sometimes it is quiet, insidious, creeping into the small corners of our lives, where actions that would otherwise be unthinkable become possible. It is the slight cruelty, the disregard for another's well-being, the silence in the face of someone else's suffering. These moments, though often unnoticed, reveal the true nature of the one who is indifferent to the pain they cause. Another hallmark of evil is deceitfulness, the deliberate distortion of truth for personal gain. To deceive is to betray the trust of others, to intentionally obscure the reality of a situation, to manipulate or control. It is a characteristic that runs through the actions of evil individuals like a thread through fabric, weaving their interactions and decisions. At its core, deceitfulness is born from a lack of integrity, a willingness to bend or break the truth to suit one's desires. The deceitful person knows the power of truth and yet chooses to obscure it, not out of necessity, but out of a desire to control how others perceive them, or to craft a reality that serves their own needs. Lies become their armor, their shield, and their weapon. They use it to craft illusions, presenting a facade of kindness, of competence, of loyalty, while underneath the reality is far darker, far more selfish. The deceitful individual is skilled in the art of manipulation. They know how to twist words, to lead others to believe something that is not true, and to create an environment where trust is eroded and doubt is planted. They understand the power of perception and how easily people can be influenced by what they see and hear. To them, truth is a malleable tool, something to be shaped and used, never a fixed point that guides one's actions. This deceit is not always grand or overt. Often it is subtle, creeping into the small details of life. A half-truth here, a carefully worded omission there. It is not always a lie told in the open, but rather a web of small falsehoods woven so delicately that they are difficult to detect. The evil person knows that a single lie can unravel, so they weave many, layering them over one another, creating a tangled web that entraps anyone who dares to seek the truth. Deceitfulness thrives on the erosion of trust. It is the invisible hand that pulls the strings from behind the scenes, causing relationships to fracture and alliances to dissolve. It undermines the very foundation upon which human connection is built. For once trust is broken, it is incredibly difficult to rebuild, and in its absence, chaos thrives. What makes deceit particularly dangerous is its ability to justify itself. Those who deceive often convince themselves that their lies are harmless, that the end justifies the means, that the truth is simply too inconvenient or too painful to acknowledge. They wear their lies like armor, comfortable in their falsehoods, convinced that their actions are justified, that the truth is an obstacle to their greater good. In this world, where truth is often malleable and trust is easily manipulated, deceitfulness becomes a tool, and the evil person wields it with the precision of a craftsman, never allowing the light of honesty to touch the shadow they cast. At the heart of evil lies an insatiable desire for control, a relentless drive to dominate and subjugate others to their will. This desire is not born of necessity or necessity alone. It is rooted in a deeper hunger for power, a need to assert authority over others, to bend them to their desires. It is a force that compels individuals to see the world not as a shared space of mutual respect and autonomy, but as an arena in which they must triumph and assert dominance. This drive for control often manifests as an overwhelming need to dictate the actions, thoughts, and lives of those around them. The individual driven by this need sees others not as equals, but as obstacles to overcome or instruments to be used. People become nothing more than tools, manipulated for personal gain. Whether in small, intimate settings or on a grand societal scale, their every move is aimed at securing a position of unchallenged power. The desire for control is marked by an intense fear of vulnerability, of being exposed or dependent on others. The one who seeks to control refuses to acknowledge the inherent interdependence that connects us all, preferring instead to foster an environment of isolation and submission. To relinquish power, even momentarily, is seen as weakness, something to be avoided at all costs. Their world is one of absolute certainty, where everything must align with their vision and any deviation is met with resistance or suppression. It is not merely a pursuit of dominance for the sake of strength, but a fear-driven compulsion to maintain that dominance at all costs. In their view, control is the only means by which they can protect themselves from the perceived chaos of uncertainty or the vulnerability of being perceived as weak. It is a trap they create for themselves, always seeking to tighten their grasp but never finding peace in it. In the pursuit of control, evil individuals often resort to manipulation, coercion, and even force. The more power they gain, the more they crave, for it is not enough simply to have influence over one person or one situation. The true evil manifests when this hunger for control expands to a broader scale, where entire groups, societies, or systems are bent to their will. They create structures of dependence, where their power becomes entrenched and those around them are reduced to subservient roles. This desire for control fosters an environment of fear and oppression. The controlled are made to believe that their autonomy is a threat, that their independence is dangerous. Fear becomes the tool with which the evil person maintains order, as they know that in fear there is compliance. Through fear, they establish themselves as the ultimate authority, and any challenge to their rule is seen as a personal affront that must be extinguished. Control, in their eyes, is not just a means of protection, but a way of life, a way to shape the world according to their desires, to mold it into a reflection of their own vision. It blinds them to the value of others' freedom, the dignity of their thoughts, and the richness that comes from the diversity of human experience. What they seek is not partnership nor harmony, but domination. One of the clearest signs of evil is the absence of regret, the inability or unwillingness to recognize and reflect upon the harm caused by one's actions. Evil individuals move through the world without the burden of conscience, untouched by the weight of the suffering they inflict. For them, actions that would stir the soul of the virtuous are nothing more than means to an end, and the consequences of their deeds are neither acknowledged nor repented. At the heart of this absence lies a profound disconnection from any moral framework that demands accountability. To feel regret is to recognize that one's actions have violated the principles of justice, compassion, or integrity. It is to acknowledge the pain caused to others and to seek a path to atonement. But for those whose hearts are hardened by evil, regret is a foreign concept. Instead, they view their actions through a lens of justification, convincing themselves that the harm they cause is either deserved or necessary, that their goals supersede the rights of others. This absence of regret breeds a dangerous sense of entitlement. It allows the evil individual to continue on their path of destruction without hesitation, for there is no inner conflict, no questioning of their behavior. They move forward with the certainty that their actions are right, regardless of the consequences, regardless of the lives torn apart in their wake. The damage they cause is secondary. an unfortunate but acceptable byproduct of their own self-serving desires. In their world, the concept of wrongdoing is distorted. They may shift blame, redirect responsibility, or rationalize their behavior, but they never truly face the truth of their actions. They do not see the harm as something they must answer for, because they believe that the ends they pursue justify the means they employ. Regret is seen as a weakness, an admission that they are flawed, that they have made a mistake. And in their eyes, such an admission would undermine the very power they seek to maintain. Moreover, the absence of regret reveals the true emptiness of their moral compass. Without regret, there can be no growth, no learning, no evolution toward a better way of living. Evil remains stagnant, locked in its own self-justification, unable to recognize or correct its failings. This is not a path that leads to redemption or even self-awareness. It is a path that spirals deeper into moral decay, where each harmful action is simply another step forward, unfettered by the consideration of its cost. For the evil individual, remorse is not a tool for improvement, but a threat to their perception of themselves. They construct a reality where their actions, no matter how cruel, are framed as rational, as necessary, or as deserved. In this reality, regret would only serve to undermine the fortress they have built around their own ego. Thus, they remain immune to reflection, detached from the empathy that might make them see the destruction they have caused.
In examining the signs of evil, lack of empathy, deceitfulness, a relentless desire for control, and the absence of regret, we uncover a pattern that reveals the true nature of those who walk this path. These traits are not isolated, but interwoven, each one reinforcing the others in a cycle of manipulation, harm, and unchecked self-interest. An evil person is blind to the pain they cause, cold in their pursuit of personal gain, and impervious to the moral weight of their action. They justify their cruelty and manipulate the world around them to maintain their position of power. Their indifference to the suffering of others and their refusal to reflect on their wrongdoings create an environment of fear, mistrust, and division. It is through recognizing these signs that we can navigate the world with discernment, holding steadfast to virtue and ensuring that we do not become ensnared by these destructive forces.